Why don't narcissists answer your questions? Have you ever found yourself in this situation wondering why every time you ask a narcissist a question, you never get a straight answer? I know it's extremely frustrating, to put it mildly. We're going to talk about why it is that narcissists don't answer your questions. Number one, they don't think you deserve answers. That's right, you heard me. They really do think you don't need or deserve the answers to your questions. This can be hard to admit to ourselves, but narcissists really don't see us as whole people, or at least they don't see us as people who are quite as real as they are. What I mean is that a narcissist sees you as sort of an extension of him or herself, and at the same time, they see you as somehow lower than or less than they see themselves. By giving you a straight answer, the narcissist would be acknowledging that you in fact are important and that you deserve to be treated like a real-life human. They would be honoring you as someone who they saw as an equal or even superior to themselves. Giving you a straight answer would essentially be acknowledging that you have feelings, thoughts, beliefs, and ideas, and that they are as important as their own. It would mean that they would have to have some level of empathy, and they just plain don't. Which brings me to my next point, number two, they really don't care how you feel. Like I said, narcissists don't have any empathy for you or anyone else. And even when they appear to care how someone feels, you can bet it's only because in that moment it benefits them to do so. Maybe they want something from you, or maybe they want to shut you up so they can go and do whatever it is they want to do. But when it comes to answering your questions truthfully or at all, it would require a certain amount of concern for your feelings, and narcissists can't go there if they're going to maintain the facade that keeps them going. And speaking of false fronts, this brings me to number three. They like it when you're confused. Narcissists don't answer questions because they really do like it when you're confused and uncertain. So rather than give you any sort of clarity, they either don't answer at all, or they only offer very vague answers. Or in some cases, they'll say something that is completely out of context. They might give you a little word salad, or they might straight up gaslight you. In any case, they want to keep you in control, and if you were feeling confused and uncertain, you're going to keep walking on eggshells around them, and that, my friend, is exactly what they want from you. And of course, this is also a way that they can hurt your self-esteem, because when they don't give you a proper answer, that is open disrespect. Which brings me to number four, they want to deflect and project. So when you ask a narcissist a question that feels like an accusation to them, they instantly go on the defense. If you ask them why, they'll tell you something like, I hate being investigated, or you're always accusing me of something. The truth is that narcissists won't answer questions that they deem accusatory in any way, even if they're not accusatory. For example, if you ask them, hey, how come you didn't put your dishes away when you were done? They might turn around and say something like, what are you saying, I'm a slob? Jeez. Then they might take it another step and attack you for being so mean to them, or point out all the times you didn't put your dishes away, or anytime you ever let the laundry pile up. Or maybe they'll point out the fact that one time 10 years ago they helped you out by washing your dishes for you, and then they'll ask you, how come you never do anything to help them, despite the fact that you literally bend over backward every day to make their lives easier. Before you know it, you'll be the one feeling guilty, begging them to forgive you for having the nerve to ask them to put their own dishes away, and that's again what they want. Which brings me to number five, they want to kill time. Yeah, one simple reason narcissists don't give you answers is that they have not yet figured out the good lie they're going to tell you. So in order to make time to dream up a real whopper, they stall so they can kill enough time to figure it out. They will keep stalling as long as they have to in order to come up with a believable lie. Or they just might stall long enough that you'll forget about it completely. At least that's what they hope for. After all, they don't feel the need to provide any sort of closure or satisfaction for you. And let's not forget that they are completely happy with leaving you hanging anyway, which of course brings me to my next point, number six, they want to take over your brain. Narcissists love to see themselves as mysterious and fascinating. They enjoy the idea of you being laser focused on them and having to guess what they've been up to or wonder what they've been doing. This offers them the assurance that you're only thinking of them. They want to take up all the space in your head, and by not answering your questions, they feel like they're finally getting the proper amount of attention from you. You won't be able to think of anything else, they think, and that's just how they like it, which is one of the many debts they feel you owe them as their primary source of narcissistic supply. You really can't expect to have a genuinely open and honest relationship with a malignant narcissist. The narcissist's lack of self-awareness compounds the issue significantly. That's why when you ask them certain questions, narcissists are more likely to deflect or walk away than actually engage. So what are these questions that a narcissist just can't answer? What does a narcissist have to avoid answering, and why? What is love? Since narcissists love people in the same way that most people love their smartphones, well, they just don't really get the concept of it. Worse, they don't understand what it even is, love. And so, since they don't know what it is, they don't know what it's supposed to feel like, they cannot answer that question. Number two, what makes you happy? You know that narcissists can't define happiness for themselves, right? Well, they can't define it for you either. Number 3, how do you feel about me? If you ask a narcissist how they feel about you, you're going to get one of a few answers. These boil down to a flurry of idealized qualities that you may or may not actually have, or they give you the runaround, or they give you a whole laundry list of things they think are wrong with you. All of this depends, of course, upon which phase of the toxic relationship cycle you happen to be dealing with in the moment. Now, if you ask them, what do you love about me? They'll say something you do for them, such as the way you rub their back, or the way you pay all the bills, or how good you are in bed, or how good you look on their arm. The truth is that the narcissist doesn't tell you exactly how they feel about you in any given moment because they're not even fully aware of who you are. Truly. It doesn't matter if you've been in the relationship for 100 years. They don't really know you. Instead, they care about what you do for them. How much narcissistic supply can you provide for them? So when you're away, they might miss your acts of service, your money, the way you are in bed, your attention, etc., but they never miss the things that make you who you are. Number 4, who hurt you? More often than you might expect, narcissists report that they've had the same kinds of childhood trauma and experiences that their victims share. They've just manifested their trauma a little differently. And while a lot of narcissists do tell good old sob stories and display narcissistic injury in order to get narcissistic supply from people around them, the truth is they can't see the forest for the trees. What I mean is, by nature, narcissists avoid introspection. They cannot stand the idea of having to be honest with themselves. They hate having to deal with themselves, and even if they do share a genuine story about how someone hurt them in their lives, sadly they can't usually admit the issues that surround their pain. I mean, if they could, they would fall into the non-narcissist category because they might actually resolve their core wounds. The thing about a narcissist is their core wounds are exactly what stops them from being a regular human. So if they took the time to actually do the work and dig deep the way that we're forced to do after they abandon us or we have to leave them for their abuse, well, they might actually heal and actually try to be a person. And this is unfortunately something they cannot do because that would require them to actually look at themselves and do the hard work that nobody wants to do. You understand. Number 5, why won't you ever admit that you're wrong? Why do you blame others for your actions and your decisions? See, narcissists don't take responsibility for their mistakes. In fact, they will at every single opportunity either completely deny the things they've done wrong or shift the blame to someone else. And if they are caught in the act of making a mistake, well, they'll blame you for being the reason they did what they did. Somehow you've caused it, they'll swear. For example, if they're caught cheating, they might blame you for not having as much intimacy with them as you had in the past, or for somehow being less attractive than you used to be, or whatever it is, when in reality, maybe you just had a baby with the person and things went that way. Number 6, why do you care more about what strangers think than the people you claim to love? This is a tough one for narcissists because they see strangers, of course, as potential new sources of supply. You know, they love to reel them into their little traps. Narcissists are so mean to people they claim to love. But if you think back to before you knew your narcissistic partner, they were pretty impressive for you too, right? But see, they care less about what you or anyone else who is close to them thinks than they do about strangers because you're already thoroughly enmeshed with them and they feel they've learned everything there is to know about you. This is, of course, despite the fact that they literally have done the opposite. They've done their best to learn as little about you as possible except for what they can use against you. But anyway, they're already thoroughly enmeshed. They think they know all there is to know. So just like any object or smartphone or whatever, sometimes the narcissist puts you in the closet until they're ready to play with you again. And this is one of those cases because they can't fully wrap their head around the fact that you're a whole person and that this random stranger on the street that they're being kinder to than you, the person who's in their life, it makes no sense. To a normal person, but to a narcissist, it absolutely makes sense because of course I would be nicer to a stranger. I already know you. I don't have to be nice to you anymore. I know. Why does it bother you so much when we don't like the same things? This question drives narcissists crazy. Have you ever noticed how they tend to get upset if you don't like the same restaurants, foods, television shows, or books, or whatever that they like? It kind of seems ridiculous when you think about it, but narcissists literally cannot put into words exactly why they find your differences so threatening. They will totally skirt the question, and they will tell you that you're even ridiculous for thinking that way. The truth is, they find your differences threatening because they don't have any empathy and they can't understand why it is that you might not like what they like or why you could possibly have different beliefs than them because they feel like they're the only one who knows all the things. They feel like they're right all the time. And by you thinking something different than they think or having a different, palate than they have even, it makes them feel like they're just not right or like you're challenging their rightness on some level. Do you understand what I mean? They feel totally threatened by it. What do you need to change about yourself or your life? Now, if you ask a narcissist this question, they will either tell you, look, I'm good, there's nothing I need to change, I'm totally fine just the way I am, okay. Or they'll say something like, I wish I made more money, or gosh, I need a new car, I need a bigger house, or whatever. But they will never acknowledge that there's room for improvement inside of themselves. Doing so would be to admit flaws, to admit fault. They can't handle that. There's nowhere to deflect then. So they just don't acknowledge any room for improvement within themselves. They stay away from self-reflection of any kind in general, so the answers they're going to give you in any case are all about themselves. So if you ask anyone else this question, they might say something like, I should really eat better, I should exercise more, work out more, be more mindful, gratitude journal, whatever, right? Lots of reasons. So the point is, the reason in most cases that narcissists cannot answer the questions that you share with them, that you ask them, is because they aren't honest with themselves, much less you. So how do you deal with a narcissist who won't answer your questions? Well, honestly, the best thing to do is to never expect a straight answer from a narcissist. Always take everything they say with a grain of salt, and don't hang your heart on the idea that they might one day be real with you, because they can't. Understand that narcissists will always do their best to leave you hanging and will never give you the answer that you need for the sake of their own agendas. This is both exhausting and painful if you're not careful. But when you can learn to see a narcissist for what they are, limitations and all, you can really empower yourself. Because when you understand what to expect from them and you can identify and label these behaviors, it can really take the sting out of some of it. It's a way you can reassure yourself that it really isn't you and that their manipulation and drama is always about themselves and their own issues. You, unfortunately, just happen to be one of the cogs in their toxic machine, at least until you figure them out. Speaking of which, I'm going to leave a video for you right here about what to expect when the narcissist knows that you've figured them out. Take a look right now if you have time. It'll give you some real insight into their psychology. All right, now this brings me to the question of the day. And the question of the day is, have you ever encountered a narcissist who wouldn't answer your questions, and how did you handle it? What tips would you offer your fellow survivors who are also dealing with this issue? Share your thoughts, share your ideas, share your experiences in the comment section below, and let's talk about it. As always, thank you so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life, and hey, thanks for letting me be a part of yours. It really does mean a lot to me. Now, before I go, make sure you take a look at the videos I'm going to leave for you right here and right here. And while you're here, hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue on this healing journey together. I'll see you soon.